Okay. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 4:12 p.m. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat
I so move that motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Coles?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of moving out of closed? Okay, so we're a little ahead of ourselves, but we are going to go into the public meeting, beginning with item 8, which is the staff reports. But before that, I'd like to acknowledge that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Williams and Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis peoples on this land and show respect to them today. We acknowledge our neighbors, the Watamohawks and the First Nations of Moose Deer, Shawniga, Wasausking, Magnetawan, Henvey Inlet, Nipissing, and the Dokis. So we will move on to item 8A, which we're first on item A, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for July 18th, 2022 meeting of council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner? Oh, I saw him raise his hand, so I'll assume that's okay. And seconded by Councillor Collins.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Thank you. So I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-080, being a bylaw to delegate certain authorities to the Chief Administrative Officer during restricted acts after nomination day, often referred to as lame duck, pursuant to Section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson
I so move.
and seconded by Councillor Moffat?
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All in favor? Or I guess if there's any discussion about it, we'll ask the clerk to speak to it, but I think it's pretty straightforward in the agenda package. So we move on to our financial update. And I believe that's for information from Michelle. There's no motion. Michelle, you can talk about our financial update, much improved since last go.
It is much improved from last month. It kind of feels like a moving target right now. Everything is moving so quickly, but we will keep reporting to council on any major events or information that come forward. And at the next financial update, we'll start reporting on the capital expenditures and the reserves and reserve funds.
Any questions for Michelle? I think it's very comprehensive and well explained. So let's keep moving in that direction. Thank you. And we have, again, I believe this is for information only, the report on Bill 109, the council update, and Taylor will speak to that, I believe. Looks like once again, our provincial government is complicating our lives.
I had struggled to take my camera off there. Yes, through your worship. So this bill just makes some amendments to the Planning Act. The ones that most significantly impact Seguin would be that site plans can no longer be referred to council. 9 out of 10 times this isn't really a big deal. We use site plans for cottage developments quite often, which aren't worthy of going to the council table, but sometimes on political or commercial matters, site plans would be referred to council to get a broader lens on the approval, but we are no longer able to do that. Another aspect which will heavily influence municipalities is refunds. So there's a chart in the report which details when refunds are made. I believe the intent was that they could say, well, if decisions are made in a timely enough manner, you get your money back. The reality is it's not that decisions weren't being made in a quick time frame because staff were dragging their feet. It's usually we're awaiting further information. The impact of this, to avoid having to give refunds, is we're going to have to front load the process, so require more information from the get-go, and ensure that by the time we're circulating, we have almost everything we need. And in situations where we hear from the public and we don't have answers, or we need plans change, or we're awaiting MTO comments, we might be in a situation where we do stray into these timelines. And if that happens too often, we might have to look at a way of changing the way we do things to avoid it if it does start affecting our revenue, because the planning department doesn't bring in much revenue as it is.
Thank you, Taylor. Any questions for Taylor? It's something that happened and we have to live with it. So we look to you, Taylor, for recommendations if it starts costing us a lot of money, but thanks for the update. So now we move on to item 8D, which again is a very comprehensive report. And we will welcome Gary Bell to take us through this, but I will read the motion now in its entirety, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So I have a motion that as per recommendation of report number DPS-PL-2022-118, Integrated Clear Lake Estates Draft Plan and Conditions, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the following. Number 1, the draft plans for Salmon Lake 49T-88008 and Clear Lake 49T-93018 are integrated and approved as shown on the combined and revised draft plan of subdivision, draft M plan by L.U. Mon Company Limited, Ontario Land Surveyors, dated June 21, 2022 for 28 lots and 5 blocks as shown on Schedule A. Number 2, the combined conditions of draft plan approval are revised and approved as provided in Schedule B. Number 3, the zoning bylaw schedule for the extent of the shoreline residential special SR1-18 bracket H zone is to be revised to match the constructed roads and lots as shown on the draft M plan in Schedule A. Number 4, the zoning bylaw schedule for the extent of the environmental protection zones is to be revised to implement the recommendations of the scoped environmental impact study by FRI Ecological Services of 2020. And the name of the roads will be Zawashqua Mikan Road, which stands for Deep Blue Road, and Weejiwa Road. Could I have a motion from Councillor Coles?
I will make that motion, Mayor.
And could I have a seconder from Councillor Fellner?
I'll second that.
Okay, and now I will turn it over to Gary Bell to take us through this. And if you have questions, Gary is our expert. So over to you, Gary.
Good afternoon, Mayor McDermott and Council. I see that my audio is on. Do you have an image? Not that you need to see me, but do you have an image
Yes,
of
we
me
can.
on
We
your
can.
screen?
We can see you. Yes, we can.
Okay. More importantly, I'm going to ask to share my screen and take you generally through the report and then address any questions you may have. So I'm going to share my screen. And you should be seeing then the report in front of you. And
Yes,
you've
we
had
can
the
see.
recommendations. So I've structured the report so that you can make an informed decision on this renewed and integrated draft plan approval of Salmon Lake subdivision and the Clear Lake subdivision, now combined and called Clear Lake Estates. So you have the 5 recommendations in front of you. And the report is structured to give you background, and you did receive a report last year from me, and we went through all of the background. It is located here at the south end of the township. In fact, it borders on the township of Georgian Bay. At the from an extension of Salmon Road south and across Crown Land to the subject property. So the draft plan revisions, the first is the draft plan revisions, and the developer has completed the roads. And this, Mr. LG and I had a good site visit last week to see the actual road construction and the barriers placed. The township truck in this image is shown on the Zawashkawash Road, or a deep blue road. And this was one of the major changes of the draft plan, to take the main road through from the north, from Salmon Lake through to the end of the subdivision, and make this a T intersection. I'm standing on Weejiwa Road, looking west to, and there'll be a stop sign here for this intersection. So that was a draft plan change. There were some other minor changes of the draft plan as per the actual road construction. So council, there are going to be 28 lots for residential use, 2 blocks for parkland dedication, and 2 more for open space, natural heritage dedication to the township. And there's also going to be a block for road reserve. I'm going to show you those on the plan of subdivision, which is here. I'm just going to reduce that so it fills just the screen. Here is the combined Clear Lake Estates draft plan of subdivision. And this is the deep blue road coming from Salmon Lake Road and Weejiwa Road going around Clear Lake. The names on this plan will be changed once council, if and when council approves the resolution. So there are 28 lots in total. I'm circling the largest number. And the number 1 at the southeast corner around Clear Lake, and then continuing on Salmon Lake. The public land dedication is block 30 at the north, block 29 on the east, and then new ones for the dedication of land, which is really natural heritage. It's a creek and a draw, block 31 and 32 leading to the east. So that would be the plan you are approving by this resolution. I'm going to go back to the report. That's the draft plan revisions. Now, council, there are quite a number of draft plan conditions from the former 2 draft plan approvals done in the 1990s by the province and 1 by the OMB. We have integrated those conditions, combined them, and made sense of them for the 1 Clear Lake Estates subdivision. And those draft plan conditions number 1 to 12, and they are draft plan conditions that are quite typical of draft plan approvals in the province now, starting with confirmation of the size and number of the draft plan, and that the road allowances are to be shown on the M plan. The M plan is the plan to be registered on title. Council, there's an external road which you've previously agreed to assume, and that's condition number 2. And it has been constructed, and the staff will confirm that it is to township standards prior to the dedication. Condition 3 is about the street names, Zawashkawa Miikan Road, and the local name can be Deep Blue Road. And the other one was the Ouija Road. These names would be shown on the plan and then all on the signage. Council, there's a road reserved to go in along the subdivision Deep Blue Road to show that the municipality is not expecting any future land division on that part of the road. There may be land division by consent, subject to official plan and committees of adjustment on other parts of the property, but not where the one road reserve is shown. Council, 4 blocks are to be dedicated. And these are the 2 new ones here on the left, down to Clear Lake. We could see it through the trees, and then turning east off into the distance. In the distance is One Island Lake. And this would be a natural corridor through to One Island Lake, if you're familiar with that. Condition 6 is the requirement of a subdivision agreement. It has been drafted once. It's in discussion between the lawyers, and the timing of the clearance of that will be subject to the completion and submission by the developer of all of the materials for signing, and it will come back to council for authorization prior to signing. There will be drainage easements, and a plan has been created by the developer for that. It's a plan that shows all of the drainage easements, natural draws that would be required. They will be covered by a legal easement in an R plan to the benefit of the township for those drainage easements. Council, there are some zoning revisions that are necessary for update and completion of the draft plan, and I'm going to come to more of that later. The Portage route, Council, there was an historic Portage route. It has been proposed that a better route be placed using the 2 public park blocks that would already have been created, as I showed you on the plan, and then traveling along the road between them, and then down to each lake. At this photograph here, photo 4, shows you on the left where there would be access for the most northerly Portage route location. Mr. Elgee and I were there, and we both thought we could carry the canoe suitably through that and down to Salmon Lake. Similarly, and it's more open, the new block 29 coming around on Ouija Road, a Portage route would come along Ouija Road and down through here and down through the trees to Clear Lake. And that's an improvement, a benefit to the canoeists in the area. Now, the subdivision agreement will contain notices and indemnifications of the township regarding the historic Portage route, and the owner will be required to open the route and place the proper signage on the edges. Council, condition 10 is that the Crown Land Road, which has been constructed, is to be, and it's legally described in a reference plan we have, and we are reviewing that with your township solicitor. That will be inspected prior to acceptance of that road as public road, and all of that is to occur prior to the subdivision agreement. Council, the condition 11 was a reference from former conditions related to ministry approvals, and now the ministries are not involved, and it's the township responsibility to get these things done and right. And there was a report for the Clear Lake lots and how the septic systems would go in. And
Join the meeting.
that should be provided for the 8 lots on Salmon Lake. So all lots are treated equally. The scoped environmental impact study have been prepared and submitted. And as part of the Environment First, it will be prudent to have these documents integrated as a basis for individual site plan approval by the lot owners. And I'm just going to take a minute to go back to Mr. Elgee's note on site plan approval, which no longer gets referred to council in any instance. It's important then that all the background be consolidated and clear so that staff, when receiving 28 individual site plans, have a reasonable and clear basis to go through that to get site plan approval by each lot owner expeditiously done. And the septic location generally for each one of them is important. Finally, the registration of the subdivision agreement is to go on title, and that will come back to you for authorization. So two things are going to come back to council: the zoning bylaw that's necessary, and I'll speak about those, and the subdivision agreement. Council, the roads were constructed in slightly different locations than were shown on the original plan. And I can show you that this way. Here in dotted configuration is the original plan. And on the lower right, if you can see my cursor, the yellow lines depicted where the road was in by draft plan. The actual road construction is different in this location and this location, around the top, and coming around an environmental feature for snakes in this area. All sensible, all appropriate, but it's important to have the zoning bylaw properly and fully reflect the actual land conditions and the lot configuration. So that's both the road construction zoning matters and the environmental protection zoning matters are to be done. The environmental protection can be illustrated this way, council. If you can see my cursor at the bottom end, this is lot 20. The zoning bylaw has the EP zone along the north edge of the lot. In reality, it's in this area in accordance with the ecological study by the developer. We're just simply going to get them tuned up and exactly right so that moving forward, the site plan has no issues about where zoning lines truly are. The road names we've been through, the two names, Deep Blue Road and Weechiwa Road. And those names were the subject of some consultations between the developer and the First Nations, and we've seen the correspondence. Council, we see that there are no financial implications, and I know that there's a number of interests that very much want to get on and complete this approval, so the land is registered and developed, and that's a good matter for township finances. You have options of approval, but we're recommending that you proceed. Council, this fits well with your strategic plan and your process guided by environmental quality, leading, and increasing the supply and range of housing. There'll be 28 new lots for individual house development here. The township councillor was consulted on this, and he agreed with the approach we were taking generally on this, and he will be involved in the details of the subdivision agreement. In summary, council, these revisions to both the draft plan and the conditions have been requested by the developer. Your staff has reviewed them relative to official plan, provincial policy, the legislation, and the land and the ground. And we see that they make sense and they're appropriate for council approval. We believe that the developer and the township should proceed with the required zoning bylaw revisions and clearance of the conditions and the execution later then of the subdivision for Clear Lake Estates. I'd be pleased to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Gary. All of a sudden, this is starting to make sense and seem logical, because I have to tell you, over the years, it seemed like a bit of a mishmash. So thank you for making it pretty clear for all of us. Are there any questions for Mr. Bell? Councillor Coles.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I don't have a question, just a compliment. I think it's well done. The project is well done. I visited it within the last 2 weeks with the developers. The road is amazing. It's, in my view, one of the better roads in the township by construction, the way it's built. And the lots are all large, so it's really in keeping with our environment first philosophy. You see, you take a drive down there, and all of currently the driveway locations are marked in blue, so you can see exactly where the lots are, and it's very impressive. And the Portage location, the ability for people outside the subdivision itself to go through in Portage fashion is certainly worthwhile. I think it's going to be a real asset to the township going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gary, just a question. When do you expect, assuming we pass this today, what's the timing on when people will start to build?
Mayor McDermott, there's a a number of steps that the developer is proceeding with, and the staff will support that and work expeditiously with that regarding the zoning and the matters of the subdivision agreement. Staff cannot predict when that will be completed. We can just assure you and the developer that we'll do everything we can to move it along at council. The next time it would come to council would be the public meeting for the zoning bylaw changes. And after that, for your authorization of the subdivision agreement. Really, it's largely in the developer's hands, moving it forward from there to registration and lot sales.
Thank you. Councillor Collins. I think you're on mute, Councillor Collins.
Yes, this is, these comments are for Gary. I'd just like to thank him for bringing us up to real time in your report. It was very comprehensive, clear, and well-structured and laid out. We all know this project was approved way back in the 1990s. And there were many changes over that period, a lot of pitfalls, delays, etc. to date. I've been told that all 28 lots are sold and owners are ready to build. I could tell you that I, for one, am absolutely satisfied to complete the final plan approval and subdivision agreement process to the Clear Lake Estate subdivision to move forward. So I'd like to thank you for this, Gary. It's a very well presented report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I see no further questions. We have a motion on the table to approve all of the recommendations. All in favor? Thank you. And that is carried. And we move on to item 8E. And I have a motion that as per staff report number DPS-BL-2022-001, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the awarding of tender number 2022-26 for the purchase of two 2022 all-wheel drive compact vehicles to Jim Wilson Chevrolet Buick GMC in the amount of $70,060, which includes HST, to be funded from the capital reserve. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins?
I move your motion, Mayor.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Finson.
I second that.
And this recommendation is coming to us from Chief Carroll, who is unable to be with us tonight. If there's any questions, please direct them to CAO Inwood. But I see no questions, and it was expected to be a purchase this year. It's in the budget, so all in favor. Thank you, and that is carried. So for the public and those joining us late, we will move back to item 6 and adjourn to the public meeting. So we have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matters: zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0012-C for Wesley, and zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0011-H for 2873177 Ontario Inc. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat?
I so move that motion, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Coles.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of moving to the public meeting? Thank you. So Council will now hold a public meeting for proposed zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, council will consider all matters placed before it prior to passing a zoning bylaw. Anyone wishing to receive notice of the passing of a zoning bylaw amendment who has not submitted such a request in writing should provide their full name and address to the clerk. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0012-C for Wesley is to change the zoning of the property from rural zone to a village residential 1, R1 zone, and reduce the size of the environmental protection zone. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on June 28th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to be provided in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
No one has registered to speak to this application.
And does council have any questions? Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I walked this particular lot on Sunday. The site was already surveyed. The stakes were up. Everything looked good. This is quite an achievement because this was more or less of a housekeeping error years ago. But I'm glad that Taylor got the job done. Thank you, Taylor, for doing this. And it'll be one of the first houses built in the village. First new home built in the village in many years. So I'm looking forward to seeing this being approved today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're all for more housing. So with that, we move on to zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-011-H for 2873177 Ontario Inc. is to amend the limited service residential zone to an LSR exception zone to permit a new cottage, the conversion of a legal non-complying guest cabin, and a single-story boathouse. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on June 28th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to be provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
John Jackson, agent for the applicant, is present to speak.
Does council have any, is John there? Okay. Does council have any questions of Mr. Jackson?
You should let John speak if you.
John, do you have anything to add to what's in our council package?
Thank you, Mayor McDermott. Just one thing. It's a fairly robust application, Madam Chair. The actual impact of this, in my estimation, is that it's driving things sort of back away from the shoreline where the historical pre-existing uses had a much bigger shoreline footprint. So although the overages are being requested, I have a sense in my own appreciation of this application is that it is, as I say, taking that footprint and pushing it off the shore and to some degree lessening the impact. So unless there are questions of council or staff, I'm happy with the work that's been done by staff. Thank you.
We have one question from Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not a question for Mr. Jackson. It's for Taylor. I'm just wondering, did this go through our committee of adjustments or is this straight to council because it's a zoning change?
Through your worship, this is straight to council. As far as I'm aware, this application has never been to the committee of adjustment. It was recommended and Mr. Jackson agreed that this wasn't going to be suitable as a minor variance and this was the correct venue.
Okay, thank you very much, Taylor, for that.
Thank you. So I see no further questions. We'll close the public meeting and reconvene the regular meeting, and we have some business coming out of our public meeting. I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matters is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened for the zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-012-C for Wesley and zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0011-H for 2873177 Ontario, Inc. Could I have a motion from Councillor Osborne?
So moved.
And seconded by Councillor Fellner.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. So we have a motion that bylaw number 2022-079, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-040-002-04806, rezoning application number R 2022-0012-C for Wesley is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins
So move your motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Finson?
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And now we move into delegations. We welcome Stephanie Veneranda and Janet Bornman, CEO and Chair of the Seguin Public Library, to update us. And I will remind you that you have a 10-minute slot, but welcome, both of you, for all the work you do at the library. Meeting is yours.
Well, thank you very much for having us. And I'm just going to share my screen so we can do our presentation. Thank you for having us today. We're just here to give you a quick update on what's been going on in the libraries recently and things that we are planning for in the future. So to start off, just a statistical update. So since March 2020, we've had over 265 new members join the Seguin Public Libraries. So that brings our active card holder count to over 1,100 users. We've lent over 15,733 physical items from the library these last 2 years. So physical means things that we actually have here in the libraries. Our digital checkouts for the last 2 years was over 18,000 items. We've also sent out 294 craft kits over the last 2 years, and those were done either through the mail or by curbside pickup.
So we've been working on our strategic plan process and have completed our policy review. We've revised, updated, and added new policies as necessary. And Stephanie's done this in consultation with Township staff where appropriate to ensure that our policies are in line with Township policies. The board orientation and training package has been updated with a choice of either digital or paper copy to new members. The staff evaluations have been modernized. The 4 Friends groups have amalgamated into one, with at least one event being held at each branch every year. The physical collection was assessed. Old, outdated, or no longer relevant material was replaced with new and more current material. Daily tasks have been evaluated to see if more efficient and or environmentally friendly processes could be implemented. A library marketing plan has been developed and implemented, and Stephanie has been working with Valerie on this. We continue to develop programming for all ages. This has led to the creation of a YouTube account. Stephanie took a library-focused leadership course over the past 2 years. She applied for and received a scholarship which funded the entire cost. We've already seen Stephanie implement some of the ideas and knowledge she's acquired over the duration of the course, and I would say this course was a huge success for Stephanie. Stephanie continues to partner with staff whenever, wherever, and however possible.
So we've done quite a few technological updates in the libraries over the last 2 years. In 2020, we purchased 22 new computers for all of our branches and expanded our software offerings to include Adobe Photoshop and Premiere Elements, which are photo and video editing softwares, which are available on all of our computers for the public to use. We're currently in the process of upgrading our internet hardware so that all of our branches, so we'll be able to manage any Wi-Fi issues at all of our branches remotely. And we're also going to be expanding the range of our Wi-Fi in each building. We've done a lot of physical upgrades as well. So in 2021, we replaced all of the movable shelving that we had at the Rosso branch that really opened up the space and gave us a lot more room to work with. We also expanded the shelving at Humphrey and Christie branches, which has given us an additional 16 shelves to help accommodate our expanding collection. We're working hard to create a welcoming and accessible space for all. So we've replaced all of our computer desks with height adjustable ones. And due to COVID, we had to replace a lot of our furniture that we had in the branches to accommodate enhanced cleaning protocols. So all of the new furniture in the libraries is really helping us become a much more well-planned and modern-looking space. So starting in May of this year, we got back into in-person programming, and as of the beginning of July, we are back to our pre-COVID hours, which is very exciting. And in the future, we're looking to build a hybrid programming model where we'll be doing both in-person and electronic online programming opportunities for the community. We're also looking at the feasibility of building a makerspace in one of our branches, and this is something that our new internet hardware will help us support. Yes. So does anyone have any questions for us?
All I can say is, wow, you guys have been busy. So thank you very much. And I'm sure you're relieved that some of the COVID protocols are behind you, but you did an extraordinary job of managing through that and providing as much service as you can. That's a great report. Does council have any questions for either Janet or Stephanie? Nope, you told us the whole story. So thank you very, very much. I continue to believe that libraries can be and should be the heart of the community. So keep up the good work. And I saw some summer programming coming along. Councillor Fellner does have a question.
Yeah, not a question, Mayor, just I wanted to, I've had the pleasure of working with these ladies for the last few years, and I know how hard everyone on the board's worked, and Stephanie in particular, and just, you know, the results are right there, and great job, and I think the library are just getting better and better, you know. So so congrats. That's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. That's great. So for those of you that are joining us late, we have already covered the items number 8A through E, and we're moving on to item 9 on the open agenda with a motion that bylaw number 2022-075 being a bylaw to write off taxes on properties in the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat
Let's move that motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Coles?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Is there any discussion? It's pretty clear in your package. Thank you. And we move on to council reports, and I will call on Daryl to start. Ward 1.
Thanks, Mayor. Not a lot, actually. July 10th, attended a road association meeting in off of Horseshoe Lake. It was annual general meeting and barbecue. Had an opportunity to speak to, there was probably about 20 or 25 residents, about a third, I think, of the total of the road. So it was a beautiful day. They seemed to pick a great day for a barbecue. Several emails on zoning, short-term rentals continued, some bylaw and some official plan comments and stuff that continue to percolate through. This week. We're actually having a board meeting for the Muskoka Watershed Council in person in Bracebridge. So that will be, I think we've done, I think this may be the second one in person. So this will be the first one I've attended in person for a while. So it'll be good to see some of the other board members from the Muskoka Watershed Council. And that's, I think that's it for me for the last 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Coles?
Thank you, Mayor. And like Daryl, mine's been a light 2 weeks, thankfully. Able to enjoy some of the summer, finally. But this morning we did have a Belvedere meeting. It was closed, however, so I really can't share the content at this time. You will get some later. And as part of the Belvedere ongoing activities, I've booked a meeting with Graydon Smith and our West Prairie Sound Health Center ad hoc committee for September the 23rd. So just waiting for his time slot and whether he wants to meet in person or virtually. That's his call. Some really good things have been happening, though. I really wanted to thank Taylor and Gary for their report today on the Clear Lake Estates project. I know they bent over backwards to get that report on the council meeting today, and we really appreciate that. I know that the developers in particular have been frustrated. There's been a lot of issues put in front of them going forward, and just overcoming another one is major in my view. So I want to thank them. Also, I met with a constituent on Spring Lane, which is one of our new seasonal roads conversions, and with Tom McLeod and the owner of the property, McGrill. This was about 3 weeks ago. We met. Tom promised to have it done within 30 days, and the constituent called me today ecstatic at how well it was done and how quickly it was done. Those are the reports we like to hear at council. So I'm, again, to Tom, thank you very much. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Osborne?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a CPAC meeting, August 4th. It will be the first in-person meeting at the OPP headquarters. Unfortunately, I missed the first hour of the meeting. I was tied up on a business commitment previously planned to 4:30, but it prompts me to ask, is there an indication that meeting times will be adjusted or changed throughout the rest of this year with very little notice? Or
I don't believe there's any plan. The reason we started at 3:30 is because we had so many closed items, and it's always easier for us to get legal counsel during business hours.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I apologize for not being here. It was beyond my control. Business first. I was concerned about one thing I wanted to mention, because having read through the agenda, it was good to see that the backlog of open building permits has been cleared substantially. And congratulations to Sarah.
Counselor Osborne, that's a closed item.
Oh, is it? Okay. Pardon
Yes.
me. And I'd like to draw your attention to a recent ParishTownNorthstar.com article on Belvedere. If you haven't read it, you should read it. I don't know if it was discussed by Councillor Coles or not, but everyone should be aware of it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. For me, relatively quiet 2 weeks. Committee of Adjustment meeting last week. Also did a tour of the north end of my ward with our director of planning and a member of the Lake Association last week. Still working away with Park to Park, trying to get some progress on the trail. I think it's to date. Thank you.
Okay, we're having a little bit of trouble connecting with you, Counselor Fellner. Your internet connection seems to be spotty today.
It's not very good today.
Is that the conclusion of your report?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what you heard.
We heard most of it, I think.
It's been a quiet kind of couple weeks, yeah. Okay.
Counselor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Well, we in Ward 5, we had our first AGM at the Sugar Lake Cottage Association meeting at the Oroville Community Center on Saturday. I figured there was approximately 65 residents that attended the meeting. I attended it with Mayor McDermott, and and I have to say that she knocked it out of the park. Her presentation was excellent. Lots of questions were asked, and we tag teamed those questions, and I hit a infield home run. So other than that, we did very well over the at the meeting, and that's it. What I have to report at this time. We do have some more EGMs coming up in the near future, and I'll report back when they happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Collins and Counselor Finson.
I was at a DSAB meeting on the 14th, and the Esprit now is welcoming animals. So they have dog pets. They allow pets to come into Esprit. They'll be doing some renovations there. They will be able to, because of COVID, they got some money to do renovations because they couldn't accommodate very many people. So now they will be able to accommodate many more people, many more families, as well as their animals, because they're doing a new format because of having your own washroom and things. The other exciting news is that the Meadowview project is coming along really well. People who are living there in Powassan are really enjoying it, and by September it will be 82% full. I think they have still six one bedrooms available. I think it's $1,200 a month. Anyway, they're doing really well, and people are really, really pleased with them once they get in to see them. Other than that, I have my cemetery meeting was canceled. I have a meeting next week for the museum. It was canceled the month before, but it's on track for next week. And I've had quite a few questions about people parking overnight at the Rosso docks, and a lot of people who are taking their boats out and putting their boats in are complaining that there are still a lot of people who are leaving their boats there overnight, and the sauna as well, I think, has been parked there. So just, I'm not sure what the answer is, but I'll speak with people in that department when it comes to, I was just heard about 5 or 6 of them this last week. And it's not that they're over full, and it's not that there's no room. It's just that they've been told these are the rules, and they're following the rules, and then other people aren't. So they're saying, why would I bother following the rules? And so I think if you if something isn't done about the overnight parking, then the people are going to start to park all their boats there again. That's just how I think it will roll. The other thing I did was I attended the Rosso Market. It was fabulous. Like, it was really, really, everybody was so excited to be there and to be back and seeing all the vendors out. It was really, really nice. I actually spent quite a long time there. I mean, I had to walk there because there's nowhere to park, but it was really nice. And that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you spoken to bylaw about the issue of overnight parking?
Not yet. I'm going to. It was just this last couple of days that I was down there for quite a bit. So I was talking to people that were there. So I will talk to them
Okay.
about
Thank
that,
you.
just about the comments I got. But I mean, I don't see any overcrowding as I go down there, but I will just have that chat with them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So July 5th, I attended the Airport Commission meeting, and that was followed by an all-day strategic planning session with the commission. And we used or welcomed Karen Wyanecki, who all of you councillors will remember helped us with our strategic plan at the township. And so she is facilitating for us, and I believe has a draft plan to Neil already. July 6th, I was able to take our new fire chief out on Lake Joe and show him some of the islands. And as he pointed out, the addresses on the docks are not very easy to see. So unless the fire has flames shooting in the air, he's not sure how you find out where the fire is in the fireboat. So I think he's on that with something to fix that issue. July 9th was the first of the Little Lake Joe gatherings. They are going to have an AGM in August. July 11th, a bunch of us met with the YMCA by Zoom to talk about some of the citizens' priorities, specifically 6 versus 4 lanes for the pool. And Y has committed to getting us a lot of numbers from other facilities. July 13th, some of you may have been able to pop into our arena where the CNIB had rented our ice time for the week or the mornings of last week to start their development of blind hockey. And it's quite something to see. They had 2 coaches up from Blind Hockey Canada, and it will now be a standard part of what you can register for at the CNIB camp. The only negative comment I got was from our staff that were in the office, because on the hockey puck sounds like a tambourine for 2 hours constantly. And they had bells in their ears for Tuesday to Friday as the hockey puck was pushed around the ice. But that's a small price to pay. July 14th was a really important day for me because I handed off all my broadband files to Forrest. And I'm delighted to do that to somebody far more qualified than I. July 15th, I was at the Rosso Market as well. There are more vendors, whole lot more food to eat. It was booming, and there certainly wasn't any parking anywhere, but they are running a bus throughout the town of Rosso to pick you up wherever you do leave your car. July 16th, as Councillor Collins mentioned, we were at a very well-attended Sugar Lake AGM at the Orville Community Center. They did have the chairs spread out a little bit for social distancing and insisted that everybody wear a mask, but the Orville Community Center was packed. I went from there to the airport where there was the grand opening of the Wave Fiber Mill, and it was very, very impressive. People came from all over the province who've been following Wave and what she does to have what she calls 100-mile clothing. So you have a 100-mile diet, she'd like your clothes to come from within 100 miles of where you live. It was very impressive. But in addition to that, at the airport, the Women's Flying Club, the 99s, came in for lunch on Saturday. There was a barbecue going. The cafe was booming, and 2 jets arrived about 2 o'clock. So it was a really busy day for people and fuel and kids getting ice cream cones and coming in to see the planes. So it was really the bustling place on Saturday. And I stayed to help the girls in the cafe just serve all the women pilots because they just couldn't get the food out fast enough. So that's pretty nice to see that kind of economic development thriving in in the township. And I think that's my report, CAO. Jason, do you have anything else? Okay, so I have a motion that the council of the corporation of the township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda for the July 18th, 22 meeting of council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Osborne?
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Fellner.
I'll second that, Mayor.
All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-081, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion by Councillor Collins
I so move your motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Finson?
I second that.
All in favor? Thank you. I have a motion that the council of the corporation of the township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council at 5:13 p.m. to meet again on Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, or at the call of the mayor. Could I have a motion from Councillor Moffat
I so move that motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Coles?
I will second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you very much, and I hope everybody gets a chance to enjoy summer. You've got a long weekend coming up. Be safe and enjoy the special season in Seguin.